Interruption, but I'm Frank Isola, and of course, they've brought me on to PTI today as the host with the most soccer knowledge.
Debatable. I'm Taylor Twellman. Did that feel good, Frank, while it lasted? Did it feel good?
It actually did. To be honest with you, it actually did.
Did it?
You know, I actually was on Maryland for a minute, and you technically broke all my scoring records. Technically.
All two of them?
When you scored your first goal, you broke my record. Welcome to PTI, everyone. Mike and Tony are off on a kite sailing adventure, so I'm thrilled to be joined in his co-hosting debut. How about that? By the lead MLS analyst for Apple TV, Mr. Taylor Twellman. Yeah! Look at that. He brought his own cheering section. A lot of Maryland people in this studio today.
A lot of Maryland people, buddy.
All right, let's start with the U.S. men's soccer team squaring off with Australia in a game that just ended. Christian Pulisic was ruled out early this afternoon with a calf injury. Despite this, and for the second straight match, the U.S. jumped out to an early 1-0 lead, this time on an own goal by Australia's Cameron Burgess. Alex Freeman, how about that, of the U.S. added another shortly before the half, and 2-0 is how it ended. All right, Taylor, your thoughts on how this game played out?
Let's start with Christian Pulisic and the injury first, Frank.
Yep.
I raised this yesterday that if he can't train for a full 24 hours before the game, you don't want to risk it because you gave yourself a little bit of headroom by taking care of Paraguay in the fashion that they did. So the fact that he wasn't ready, no problem, sit him. Now, I always believed that the United States could beat Australia without him. Quite frankly, they already did this in October of 25 when they beat Australia 2-1 in a friendly. Now, a little caveat to this was, would Pochettino play two center forwards? Would he play one? Would he play an extra midfielder? He went with Ricardo Pepi up front. Brilliant move. For the first 45 minutes, Frank, they were dynamic, they were athletic, in a game that was chippy, that was ugly. The field didn't play that fast, but the United States was the protagonist. They dominated possession, but more so, other than an early chance from Australia, there wasn't a ton of threat. The second half, that's more alarming. But give me your thoughts on the first 45.
Well, I thought we were terrific in the first 45, and it's the first time, speaking of 45, first time since 1930 that the U.S. has won consecutive World Cup games. So we did make some history today. I agree with you. I thought the field was terrible. I thought in the second half, Australia, besides the fact that they did a lot of complaining, I thought they were really physical. It seemed like a little, at times, like Australian rules football. So I think for the U.S., and I think this is the thing, Taylor, this team, we got a little fight to us. We got a little bite in us as well. And I agree. I thought dynamic in the first half. Again, the first goal coming down the left side. This time it was Balogun. Obviously, in the first game against Paraguay, it was Christian Pulisic who did a great job attacking. So all in all, do I think they're going to have to play better as the tournament goes on? Absolutely. I thought maybe in the second half, Pochettino could have gone to the subs maybe a little bit earlier. I thought we had tired legs, but I thought all in all, I thought it was obviously a good result. Anytime you win a World Cup game, it's a big deal, Taylor.
Frank, anytime you qualify for the knockout stage for the first time ever with a game in hand, the United States men have never done this. And I couldn't agree with you more in the sense of this. The first game you won in style. The second game, there was none of that. But you had to claw, you had to fight, you had to do every little thing well in order to get a goal. The own goal would have been scored by Pepi anyway, so take that away. But the United States have now won 2 games in the World Cup in 2 different ways. That is going to be more momentum going into the knockout stage than winning both games with real style, because now you've answered the call. We can win ugly, we can win pretty. That's going to give them confidence.
All right, a couple of things. I thought Matt Freese, he needs to be a little bit better with the ball at his feet. I think that was a small issue. I'm going to start nitpicking just a little bit here. I thought at times the back line needs to be a little bit sharper. And in the second half, you know, Australia's pushing forward, Taylor. I would have thought maybe the U.S., like they did against Paraguay, you can get some kind of counterattack goal. They didn't get that in the second half.
Yeah, I agree with you, especially second half. But Pochettino could have changed that with some subs. I want to spin this forward. Less about what happened this afternoon, because now the conversation starts. Where do you go from here? Frank, what would you do, depending on the result tonight from Turkey, with the next lineup and what that result needs?
All right. Obviously, the big question is going to be Christian Pulisic. And we don't know if he's going to be available for the next game. All you need to know is when Alex Freeman scored his first goal, and there was a bit of a delay because it got reviewed by VAR, so it was a late celebration, and everyone from the bench ran to the other end of the field and celebrated with Freeman. Guess who was one of those players jumping up and down? Was Christian Pulisic. So that was actually a good sign, I think, for me. But now you're in a position. And Turkey is going to be the best team that they've played in this group so far. They played really well against Australia. They were a bit unlucky. They controlled possession. If the U.S. can if you win the group, and you know this, now with the added teams in the tournament, they're going to have a very favorable round of 32 opponent. It's starting to set up really well for the U.S. in terms of who they can play. Right now, when you look at it, there's a chance they could get Bosnia, perhaps, in the round of 32. But I think the question for you would be, what about all the guys with yellow cards? That's a factor now going into that final group stage game.
Tonight against Paraguay, if Turkey loses or draws, the United States win the group. I'm resting Christian Pulisic, and I'm sitting any player on a yellow card because the second yellow accumulation would actually suspend them in the knockout stage. You also brought up the most important part to this. It's not a 32-team tournament. It's 48 teams. And when the United States win the group, that now means they play a third-place team in the knockout stage. And when you win that, which would be only the second knockout stage game that men have ever won since 1990, then it gives you real momentum. Frank, don't risk it. You don't even, if you win the group before the Turkey game, I wouldn't even touch Christian Pulisic. I wouldn't touch Tyler Adams, Chris Richards, anyone on the yellow. There's no reason to. Set yourself up to have the best run you've ever had, and sometimes you got to lose the battle to win the war.
I want to ask you about Pulisic, but one thing about Tyler Adams, and these are the kind of games, and you've seen this with him over the years, whether in the MLS or over in England, when it gets really physical, sometimes Tyler Adams could lose his head a little bit. I like the fact that he was able to avoid a yellow card in this game. But if Pulisic is healthy, why not play him? Isn't there something about catching a rhythm, or you think, you know what, that's if they've already clinched first place in the group.
If they've already clinched,
you're
Frank,
not playing
I'm not touching any of it. I'm allowing him to be fully fit for whoever it is, because then you got the third place team of whoever group that is, and then you've got yourself into the round of 16. I'm not touching Pulisic or anyone on the yellow. I don't care. Now, they have to be available, because obviously you need players available if injuries come and subs happen in the second half. But there's no reason to touch Richards or Adams on a yellow, and quite frankly, allow Christian Pulisic an extra week to get ready.
Where has your prediction of the U.S. changed at all after the first two results?
No.
So what are you thinking?
No, it's been quarterfinals or bust. I'm not changing it.
I agree with you. I think that would be a great result. But guess what? If things break right for them, who knows? Maybe they can land in the semifinals. All right, let's move now to the second round of the U.S. Open, ongoing at Shinnecock out on the east end of Long Island. Wyndham Clark finished his first round this morning at -6 and then shot a 69 in the second round to take the clubhouse lead at -7. Matt Fitzpatrick and Xander Schauffele are at -3, and Colin Morikawa shot a 65 to get to -2. Taylor, what stands out to you